You know, we often think battles are won with bigger armies or better weapons. But every now and then, a battle comes along that's won by something else entirely. The Battle of al-Qadisiyah was one of those. It wasn't just a clash of swords, it was the profound test of character, where a new way of thinking forged an army that would literally change the map of the world. All right, let's get into this incredible story.
This quote right here from one of the commanders gets to the absolute heart of it. These guys were from tribes that had been fighting each other for generations, like lions and wolves, he says, and now they're standing shoulder to shoulder against a superpower. So how does it change that dramatic even happen? Well, that transformation is the real story here. It was a direct result of the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, which brought their hearts together so completely that the Quran describes it as becoming brothers by his favor.
So the stage is set for this absolutely monumental showdown. On one side, you have this new Muslim army just filled with this incredible sense of purpose. And on the other, the gigantic Persian Sasanian Empire, one of the two great world powers of its day. The challenge they were facing was, it was just immense. Now get a load of this, because the sheer imbalance is pretty staggering. Take a look at these numbers. We're talking about maybe 30,000 lightly armed Muslims against an army of somewhere around 120,000 heavily armored Persians. The Persians had the numbers, they had the heavy armor, and they had this terrifying secret weapon. On paper, this looks less like a battle and more like a slaughter.
And here it is, the Persian secret weapon, war elephants. Just try to picture them. They were basically the ancient world's battle tanks. Huge, terrifying, and they could just smash through enemy lines, causing absolute panic and chaos. And for the Muslim cavalry, whose horses were just terrified by the sight and smell of them, this was a complete tactical nightmare.
So when you're facing odds like that, brute force just isn't going to cut it. Victory was going to require something else, something deeper. And this brings us to one of the most crucial elements of their success, a culture where the best idea wins, no matter who it comes from. It's a direct application of putting the community's success way ahead of any personal ego. And here's a perfect example of how that worked. On the second day, a commander, not the top guy, but a subordinate named al-Qa'qa ibn Ar, comes up with his brilliant bit of psychological warfare. He has small groups of his soldiers sneak out of camp in the dark, and then, at sunrise, he has them ride back in waves, kicking up dust and shouting battle cries. So to the exhausted Persians, it looks like this endless stream of fresh Muslim reinforcements is arriving all morning. It totally wrecked their morale. And this right here is the key. The overall commander, Hashim ibn Utbah, he saw the genius in his subordinate's plan, and he didn't hesitate for a second. He just adopted it. There was no professional jealousy, no, hey, I'm in charge here. His ego just wasn't part of the equation because the success of the mission, of the whole community, was so much more important than his own status.
And you have to understand, this wasn't just some random act of a humble guy. This was baked into their culture. The sources tell us that these men were shaped by the Prophet's teachings to cancel their egos and self-interests. The success of the community, the Ummah, was everything. That discipline, that powerful unity of purpose was their real strategic advantage.
But clever tactics could only take them so far. The battle just kept raging on, and it all came to a head on the third night in a brutal, non-stop fight that would test the physical and spiritual limits of every last soldier on that field.
They actually gave this night a name, the Night of Al-Harir. It means the night of clashing steel. The fighting was so close, so intense and personal, that they fought from dusk all the way until dawn without speaking. Communication was just grunts and the sounds of the battle itself. Can you imagine a test of endurance like that?
This eyewitness account just makes it so real. The clash of iron was like the sound of the blacksmith all night. Just try to imagine that sound, not for a few minutes, but for an entire night. The constant deafening clang of a forge, where every single strike is a matter of life or death. It speaks to an incredible level of patience and resolve.
So what on earth is fueling this kind of impossible endurance? Well, this right here explains the second core trait of this army. Their commander described them as having two identities. By night, they were deep in worship, their camps filled with the quiet humming of bees as they recited the Quran. Their actions were grounded in this deep spiritual foundation. But when the sun came up, they transformed. They became knights with the courage of lions. It was this perfect balance of profound faith and fierce action that was the engine driving them forward.
Okay, so after 3 brutal days and that insane night, the battle is somehow still a stalemate. But on the 4th day, a combination of that unwavering patience and a sudden, completely unexpected turn of events would finally break the Persian lines for good.
That same hero, al-Qa'qa, rallies the troops again, pushing them deep into the Persian center, telling them to just be patient, that victory was coming. And then, something happens that no one could have planned for. A violent dust storm kicks up, blowing sand and grit right into the faces of the Persian army. The wind gets so fierce that it rips the canopy clean off the throne of the Persian general, Rustam. And just like that, he's exposed, he panics, he tries to run, and in that one moment of chaos, the whole command structure just disintegrates.
And then came the shout that sealed the deal. A Muslim soldier, having caught the fleeing commander, climbed up on that empty throne and just yelled for everyone to hear. With their general gone, the Persian army, this massive force that had fought so hard for days, completely fell apart. The battle was over.
But the story doesn't really end there with the clash of swords. To really understand what this victory meant, we have to look away from the battlefield and back to the capital. Because a quiet, simple moment there reveals everything you need to know about the character of this new nation's leadership.
So back in the capital, the leader of the Muslims, the Caliph Umar, we're talking about the head of state. He wasn't sitting in some palace waiting for a report to be delivered. No. Every single day, he would walk out to the edge of the city and just wait, anxiously scanning the horizon for any sign of a messenger from the front. His concern was deep. It was personal.
So when a messenger on a camel finally does appear, Umar, again, the most powerful man in his nation, starts running alongside the camel, eagerly asking for news. The messenger, he's just a regular guy, exhausted from his journey, and he has no idea who this man jogging next to him is. He just shouts out the amazing news. Allah has defeated the enemy.
It's only when they get into the city and people start greeting Umar as the Caliph that the messenger realizes who he's been talking to. He's totally mortified and he says, "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" And Umar's reply, it just captures the entire spirit of this whole story. He just says, "Don't worry about it, oh my brother. No ego, no ceremony, just brotherhood." The exact same character that won the battle on the field defined its leadership from the very top all the way to the bottom.
And really, that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. The story of al-Qadisiyah is this incredible tale of victory against absolutely impossible odds. And it forces you to ask the question, what is the true foundation of victory? Is it really found in having more soldiers and stronger weapons, or is it forged in the character, the humility, and the unshakable unity of a people who are bound together by a purpose greater than themselves?